you know that I respect your work so much, right? But there's whenever I think about the word influencers, I don't think about people like you. I think about people who are trying to become famous for the sake of becoming famous. Sometimes I think like, do you want to be an influencer because of the perks or because you're influencing people? All right, made possible by Wavecast Equipment and produced by Sand Studios. I'm Trey Remulla, and welcome to the White Stripe Podcast. All right, how does it feel to be back?
Oh, it feels good. It feels good to see how far you've come since then.
Thank you.
Yeah, dude, big congratulations. That's a lot of hard work. That's a lot of passion. And you're doing great. Keep going. I'm excited to be back here for sure.
It's crazy how you were the first person to come on.
I'm so proud of that. That's the one thing I'm gonna. Hey, have you heard of White Stripe Podcast? Yeah, dude, Trey's so eloquent and everything. You know, I was the very first person to be on that podcast.
Bro, the very, very first. And I'm very, very thankful for that.
Yeah, I'm grateful for this opportunity to be back here too. Yeah, just seeing your comments. Ano yun, your tweets on Twitter.
My tweets on Twitter?
Not the tweets on Facebook, the tweets on
tama.
Twitter.
Not to be mistaken with the ones on Instagram as well, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Just great banter there and great, what's that you tweeted something about influencers, or tying the word influencer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I saw some discourse like online, and then I was thinking, like, is it time to retire the word? Because it feels like it is.
Yeah. What's your take on that?
My take on, man, because okay, here's the thing. Like, I feel like it's such it's an odd word for the title. I mean, for the job description, what it really is.
That's true.
Because the job description has become make stuff that people like and tell people what to buy. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how you earn your money, right? As
You're
an
almost a
influencer.
walking billboard.
Yeah, exactly. Like you become that. And then there are a lot of influencers that I know, and even myself, like having businesses. People message me all the time and they're just like, hey, I'm this person. Can you send free stuff, or can we have a deal of some sort, right? And then I check their profile, and then sometimes all of their posts are sponsored posts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's just like they're holding a washing machine one post, and then the next post they're holding like a dog collar. I don't know, something like that. And then the next one they're having coffee, and then I'm just like, and it's the same photo but with a different product in hand. That's what it kind of feels like.
You know what? That's a great parody account right there. We should actually it's the exact, and then you just Photoshop it na lang.
Oh my
exact same photo, and then naka-Photoshop na lang yung product, and it's just a whole feed. Yeah, that's what it is nowadays. I mean, it's no longer okay. So I don't think it's exactly time to retire the word.
Okay.
But just jumping off of what you said for now, less about the terminology and semantics of it and more about what it's become for some creators, is that you're not even gonna follow somebody who 90% of their posts is just sponsored posts.
Yeah.
I mean, what authenticity is that? And how do you know that this person believes in every single brand that he or she is promoting or advertising or endorsing? Because that's not how normal people think either. I understand an opinion leader who creates great content that adds value to people's lives, and that can be comedic or entertainment value. That's fine too.
Right.
And you follow that person for that, and then every now and then, 1 in 5 posts, 1 in 4 posts, even it just pops up that it's not like a hard sell. It's like, oh, by the way, I believe in this product. I believe in this brand. Go check it out. All the more that will even be more effective. But now I think just the advertising industry and capitalism and all of that, it starts to become like blind influencer marketing without really thinking about it. Na parang, oh, this person has this many followers and is consistent, so
Yeah.
of course this person will hit the numbers that we want, but will it actually convert into sales? Like that's
True.
kind of what's in the back of the mind of the brand. And I think what this generation, I'm sorry to say, bro, both our generation and the next generation, the generation younger than us, both of those generations are leaning more and more into authenticity, soft sell, not hard sell endorsements, and
Yeah.
just, yeah, influencers slash creators slash opinion leaders genuinely backing the brand.
Right. It's an interesting thought because when I tweeted that, and I mean, like, that I respect your work so much, right? But
Mm-hmm.
there's whenever I think about the word influencers, I don't think about people like you. I think
Mm.
about people who are trying to become famous for the sake of becoming famous.
Yeah, dude.
That's what I think about. You happen to become famous and you create good work. I do enjoy your podcast. I do enjoy your videos, even though you don't make as many anymore. But people enjoy what you make and they listen to what you do. And to me, that's what influencer is. Like, I'm not mad at that.
Mhm.
But a lot of people are like, oh, I'm an influencer. I'm
Right,
like,
right.
give me free stuff. I'm just like, yo.
Yeah, it's probably the same thing as for me kasi when I started out vlogging in January 2017. So
Uh-huh.
it's been more than 4 years. And I started out very inspired by Casey Neistat.
Mm.
So to our listeners, yeah, he's like one of the pioneers of daily vlogging in the
Yeah.
States. And he did it in such an innovative way. Like he would really tell a story. He would really make sure that there's character development in every vlog. In every vlog, there's like a tension that has to be resolved. It's the exact opposite of like, okay, guys, so we're here now in LU. Okay, guys, so we're here now in the hotel room. We're just gonna buy chips. Okay, guys,
Yeah, yeah.
it's the exact opposite of that, and that's why I was proud to call myself a vlogger. And then
Okay, yeah, yeah.
what happened, like, after that, it became more and more popular. Of course, I'm not great with mass media or with attracting large audiences. I am not great at marketing, and that's not my personality. So that's why I didn't grow. I'm a gypster, and you can judge me all you want for that, but that's who I am. And once there were more vloggers that started to pop up, and that became the common notion of vlogger. Vlogger ako. I get free stuff, and
Right.
then
Yeah.
yung mga issues na hi, I'm an influencer with 5,000 followers. Can I get a free stay at your hotel? Yung mga
Yeah,
ganun
yeah, yeah.
na parang, uh, excuse me, like, and I'm not trying to put anyone down. It's just like, there became a certain level of entitlement associated with the term. And now even taking it a step further with the term influencer, I was proud to be called an influencer because growing up, my parents always said, be a good influence to your friends.
Yeah.
Be a good influence to your classmates, and avoid bad influences in your life. I'm gonna stay away from that kid. All he does is watch Pokemon.
Pokemon's bad. Christian kid, you can't watch Pokemon.
Yeah, but parang and I was proud to take up that role also because my content, um, you know, roughly categorizing it, I would put it in the inspirational, motivational
Yeah.
genre. And I would like to be there. I would like to be a good influence in people's lives, adding real value. But nowadays, when people say influencer, it's so different from what used to be an opinion leader, like a Chinky Tan opinion leader,
Yeah.
or like a like Gary Vaynerchuk, I guess, worldwide kind of opinion leader on certain niches or certain topics. And now influencer is just, I have a huge following. I have a lot of people that follow my Instagram. Sometimes that's girls posting their bodies and guys simping over them, and that's influence. And influence is now equal to clout. And now people want to be influencers because they want the clout.
Yeah. You're right. The I think that's one thing that I take from it. It's like in my head, and I'm not trying to like judge people, like, because I don't know them, but sometimes I think like, do you want to be an influencer because of the perks or because you're influencing people?
Yeah,
Very different
for
stuff.
sure.
Because I mean, like, let's be honest, influencer now, it's the term for celebrity, but not quite. You know, it's you're kind of
Yep.
you're famous, even though you're not Eliza Soberano. You know what I mean? You're not there, but at the same time, you're not an amateur YouTuber. You're somewhere in that middle where you can call yourself that, even if you're not quite there yet. You know, you don't need a certain. It doesn't say like, oh, to be an influencer, you have to have 100,000, whatever. No, it doesn't mean anything. Like, you can just say, I can tell people I'm an influencer.
Yeah, you've got a podcast and people listen to it, and
Yeah.
it makes an impact in their lives. That's influence.
I guess just for me, it just kind of soured into something very shallow over the years. Do you agree with that? Or is that something that you kind of push back against?
I'm not gonna push back against the semantics of the term influencer and what that means for people. Yeah, I mean, it's clout. It's lately, I'm observing more and more that, and it also just, okay. So again, these are just very strong opinions from a guy on the internet, and if you disagree, whatever, right? And that's fine. Go disagree, but I'm right. No, I'm just kidding. So it's more like people are treating being an influencer and having a platform as if it's not a responsibility, but like a what do you call it? It's not a privilege, but it's a, like, they deserve.
No.
Yeah, but it's like that. It's like,
Yeah.
I deserve to have clout because I have abs, you know, or I deserve to have clout because I'm so funny, and that's cool. I mean, honestly, people create good but that's my question exactly. Like, what about the people who are passionate about creating content? I think that was, I'm only really expressing this now because I haven't processed these thoughts now that I'm coming to it. But yeah, that's what I'm realizing is the difference now between me starting out with 0 subscribers in 2017, and I just wanted to start because I was passionate about making videos.
Yeah.
I wanted to make videos like Casey Neistat. I wanted to tell stories through video, and that was fun for me.
I kind of got that from the way that you did your first few.
Before, diba?
Yeah.
And now it's a little different in that I have to think of the algorithm and think of the thumbnail and think of what topic and just parang if it's gonna be, if people are gonna watch it. And of course, you know, that's a pressure that it's a different topic and it's something that I'm struggling with and I'm learning to create for the sake of creating. But the influencer term and the debate around the influencer term kind of brings up the question, like, is there, it kind of eclipses the creators who want to make good content for the sake of making good content because they're passionate about it. Nowadays, when you say influencer, you think it's those people who just have a lot of followers on Instagram because of on sometimes it's creative. Okay, I'm not gonna generalize anyone.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
The image that I get personally in my head when you say influencer, it's not like a Casey Neistat vlogging genius, filmmaking genius. It's not like a I'm thinking of who else is like a Trey Remulla, really good podcast host with great topics and good conversation. Like, that's not the type. Those are creators in my mind. Diba? Influencers in my mind are people who may appear to have less passion for the craft and are just using the craft as a stepping stone in order to garner more quote unquote influence or numbers or online validation from people.
So do you think that influencers, for example, if somebody's the type to I mean, I don't want to I'm gonna overgeneralize, sorry. But do you think that if their goal is to become famous, then they're the influencers of today. Would you call it that?
I don't think that the reason that they're okay. So this is our definition.
Yeah.
For the record, our definition now in this conversation of influencer is that which we've described versus a creator who's passionate about making the content.
Okay, let's just there's two camps, right?
Yeah.
Influencer and creator. It can overlap, sure, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, and so on the topic of that overlapping, there are creators out there who have very little following, very few subscribers, but make world-class, amazing content out there. Like my friend Trey Remulla. Okay, well, back to the topic. Yeah, I don't think it's the desire to be famous that characterizes an influencer. Although that does contribute to what I think does characterize an influencer, which is the fact that the goal. No, you're kind of right. I think maybe I'm just wording a bit differently. The goal is more numbers on the internet. Maybe more validation, online validation, maybe more. But parang the goal of an influencer would be higher numbers on the internet and the things that they post. And then, therefore, that goal will affect the decisions that they make with their content.
Okay.
That's what will make an influencer. That's what will set them apart. Because once you have that goal, diba, parang it's like when you're surfing. There's this one surfing quote na the greatest surfer out there is the one who's having the most fun. So if you're a surfer who wants to have the most fun versus a surfer who wants to do the gnarliest trick for the sake of impressing his or her friend, they're gonna surf in two very different ways. They're gonna have two very different styles. And I think it's you can follow along from there that creators are not gonna care as much. Maybe they can. I consider myself in the creator camp, but I'm very much trying to be as aware as possible and conscious as possible also of the online validation I get because I'm vain also sometimes, but then also because it helps keep the business going.
Of course.
And we'll talk about this later. Like creators are also now entrepreneurs and small business owners, right? But to answer the question and to go and to tie that loose end, it's really the style of creation, which is it really boils down to the style of creation, and that style of creation is guided by the goal that you have for your content.
To me, it's weird because of the title. I think if there was another word for it, I wouldn't have much of an issue with it. If it was called, like what you said, video creator, or brand ambassador, I don't know, like those things, I'm like, fine, I can.
To our audio listeners, I pulled up my shirt and it literally says ambassador on it.
Like, to me, that makes sense. To me, those are jobs, right? Those feel like jobs,
okay.
Right? But when you say an influencer as a job, to me, it's a bit vague in a sense that you're not being paid to influence. You know what I mean? You can be paid because you have influence, but you're not being paid because you're influencing. Like, for example, for you, right? Even, let's be honest, like, in someone else's mind, you're a classic influencer. You know, like that's the word that people will use with you, even though for you, it's not necessarily how you would describe yourself, right? They'll say, oh, this guy, he makes videos and he travels and with his wife, and he and his wife talk. They do challenges. Like when you look at it in that way, mainstream wise, people will say, oh yeah, Nate Punzalan, the influencer, right? And at the same time, you have a lot of influence. So I'm not even mad at that. It's just that there's no bar, and I'm not saying that that there should become a bar, like not necessarily, but there's no bar on what an influencer is and isn't now.
Yeah,
like if you're a
that's
celebrity, you're an influencer. If you're not a celebrity, you can be an influencer.
That's true.
And I guess not like just more than just the motive, more than just the creation itself. It's also the motives that pretty much define
Mm-mm.
how your content is, how you treat your audience. Are they customers or are they
Are you a Star
friends?
Wars fan?
So I have a love relationship with Star Wars. Like I love it. I have friends who are like incredible fans. So if you ask me if I'm a fan, I'm a fan, but I'm not like them.
Okay, so I guess influencer versus creator mindset, in the context of how we're talking about it,
Right.
would be making Star Wars for A New Hope. The first one,
Yeah.
the groundbreaking
Yeah.
Luke
Yeah. Yeah.
Skywalker storyline created by George Lucas from the passion of his heart because it's a
Mm-hmm.
great idea. Versus Star Wars 7, 8, 9. It's all fan
Yeah.
service,
Yeah.
and it was all like a lot of the devotees of Star Wars 4, 5, and 6, who maybe like sort of like Star Wars 1 and 2 lang, but then found that Star Wars 3 is a nice transition to Star Wars 4, 5, and 6, and then respected that sixlogy, that double trilogy canon, to Star Wars. And then those fans, they hate the way that Star Wars 7, 8, 9
Oh
was
yeah.
done,
Yeah. For
right?
sure.
Because it's a lot of fan service, it's a lot of just appealing to the masses, and of course adjusting the storyline and the plot to serve the desires and and the internal emotional core and aspirations of the new generation.
Yeah.
It's not like maybe Toy Story 3, Toy Story 4,
Okay,
because
go on.
no, I'm going off on a tangent a little bit, but I'm
Go
not
ahead.
even 100% sure of this info. But I think Toy Story 3 and 4 kasi were created more for those who love Toy Story 1 and 2.
Oh, for sure. You're right. Yeah.
Diba?
Yeah.
And Toy Story 4, I heard the story behind it was not because they wanted to milk it, but because somebody in Pixar's studios just had a random idea. Hey, what if this happened to Woody and Buzz? I'm not gonna spoil it if you haven't seen the masterpiece.
Came out like how many years ago? But go on.
I don't think it's as great as Toy Story 3. But
It's
if
not.
you fell in love with Toy Story 1 and 2 and you cried in Toy Story 3, ako personally, I cried in Toy Story 4 because it's that time where Woody and Buzz realize their purpose in life,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they have to part ways. And that's also the cry of our generation, you and me.
Mm.
And we're the people who watched Toy Story 1 and 2 growing up. And so, there's a huge difference in the mindset talaga.
Right. So let's take a quick break, and I want to talk to you about what you mentioned earlier. Whether you need starters equipment or you'd like to upgrade the audio gear you already have, go to Wavecast Equipment PH. There you can find what works for you. Wavecast has podcasting starter kits and streaming equipment like microphones, boom stands, headphones, gaming mouses, keyboards, and more. It's nationwide shipping, cash on delivery, easy to order. Again, check out the Facebook page Wavecast Equipment PH or check them on their Instagram at Wavecast PH. That's WAVECAST PH. Alright, back to the episode. Alright, we're back with Nate Punzalan. Alright, you mentioned earlier something about creators being entrepreneurs. Can you expound on that?
Yeah. I think influencers are entrepreneurs as well. It's kind of another side of the whole influencer as a term debate. But I think now these influencers slash creators aren't just there to influence people or aren't just there because they have a lot of people following them on social media. But part of their workflow and daily routine is also being entrepreneurs. And they're essentially small business owners. Essentially, these guys have garnered some sort of expertise or some sort of and have strengthened their personal brand very well. So one or the other, either a very strong personal brand or they have expertise in a certain that yung 1.0 ng creator entrepreneurship is merchandising. So remember to buy my merch. I've got a new shirt. Go to natepunzalan.store, right?
Yeah.
Yung 2.0 nun is digital products. And so if you want to know more about editing, you can watch this video, but you can also buy my course. I'm also selling presets and
Yeah,
LUTs.
right. I see a lot of
Yeah,
those.
diba? And that's
Yeah.
the 2.0 of creator entrepreneurship, and that's great. And that means they're making revenue, they're having revenue streams in other ways, and that's also what in diba, our Twitter conversation, we talked about the creator economy.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yung 3.0 naman nun is creator-led brands, and so there are creators now who are coming up with their own coffee lines,
Right. Yeah.
or coffee brands, or notebooks, or as in clothes, lines of apparel talaga. And I did a bit of research before coming on here, and it one website said that the three top trends in the creator economy. Number one, creators are moving their top fans off of social networks and onto their own websites, apps, and monetization
Ooh.
tools. Yeah.
Okay.
Number two, creators are becoming founders. And so creators are also building out teams and assembling tools to help them start businesses while they focus on their art. And so, parang MKBHD, Marquez Brownlee, he's got a team of like 7 now. So
Wow.
he's not the one always only editing, his videos and stuff. He's
Yeah.
got people to do production design and motion graphics for him
Must be
while
nice.
right? While he pursues other endeavors. Or
Yeah.
Mr. Beast, for example.
Right.
He did this ghost kitchen burger thing.
Mm.
Like all around the country, he helped small businesses by if they've got kitchens running, he just made them into a Mr. Beast ghost kitchen and gave them the recipe for the menu. And all
Right.
around the country, now it's a win-win for both small businesses and Mr. Beast. The third one, after number one, creators moving their top fans off social networks and onto their own websites. Number two, creators becoming founders. Number three was creators gaining power in the media ecosystem as fans seek to connect with individual personalities rather than faceless publishers. And I think this is where they are influencers. They are opinion leaders, and they do have genuine influence, not just number of followers. Because honestly, if you're an influencer or creator with only 250 followers, but those 250 were CEOs of companies, you're a freaking influencer, man. You've got
You're
real
right.
influence, right?
You're right.
So that's the new thing now, and that's what creator entrepreneurship is for me.
I find that interesting because I'm someone who's an entrepreneur. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've had businesses. I have a business, and I've always had a sense of creativity in the side of it. I've always wanted it to be run well. I've always wanted it to be creative in a sense. Like I can't imagine myself as like a logistics person. And I know that there's creativity in logistics, right? And all that stuff. But I can't imagine myself there. I can't imagine myself doing that because I have to have some sort of, whether it's like taking photos, making posters, whatever, graphics. It has to be something. So when you say that, it's interesting to me because I'm on the other end, meaning to say that I've built my businesses in the sense of I don't want people to know that it's necessarily mine. If that makes sense, I've that's the structure that I've built my businesses on. So hearing your side of it and how you think of it is really interesting to me because I don't think you're wrong. Like I think that's very, very valid because of where you are. My thing is like I'll make a business and then, you know what I mean, make that work, make it run, and then people will know me because of that business. But there's a flip side to that, which is what you explained, is that you create great content, you connect people with different people, you become people's influences in their lives. And so when you come up with a product or when you have a service, people will want to buy it. And that makes sense, to me. If, for example, if you came out with a course on, I don't know, top of my head, like reading the Bible, I'll be like, hey, that sounds cool. You know what I mean? Like, I'll be like Nate Punzalan explaining to me how I can read my Bible or how I can like dissect a video. I don't know, something like that. Like to me, that makes sense, and I would love to see something like that. I'm not saying that you are.
Yeah, I'll make one. I'll sell it to you for 666 pesos.
Yun. Nice. Give me a discount para 420. Yun, no?
Ayun.
No, so to me that's an interesting like shift of mindset that you explained. But so how does somebody, in your opinion, stay true to themselves and keep integrity while still building up themselves, still representing brands. But and they of course want to earn money along the way. I mean, not all the brands that tap you will agree with their product or you will love their product. So do you think it's not? Do you think it's a breach of integrity if you post about that you love something that you don't really love?
So you asked two questions. There's how do you keep your integrity, and then
Yeah.
it's if you is it a breach of integrity? I'll answer the first one. How do you keep your integrity? And the answer is simple. It came to me right away. It's empathy. There are many other ways to go about it, and a lot of other people have great ideas, even better ideas. But for me, it's just remembering that your content is going out there to real people. It's kind of like you make. I was listening to a podcast yata earlier this morning. Parang you make a work of art. Maybe it's a blog. Maybe you write like a essay from the bottom of your heart. And on the internet, if you visualize it as when you hit publish, there are many tiny little robots who go around the world and deliver that piece of content, that piece of art to real people for you. And you don't even have to go to them yourself. And if you look at it in a more personal way like that and not just publish it on the internet, whatever.
Right.
But instead, it's the internet is or the robots are intentionally bringing it to people, real life people with real life stories. And those people, like the people who watch my videos, for example, I know that they are literally taking 5 to 10 minutes out of their day. Well, on average, 3 point something minutes lang. Maybe 40% of that video lang.
Yeah.
But, they're literally taking out those minutes in their day. They could be doing anything else, but they're choosing to put their eyes on my face on their mobile device or their screen. And when you have that in mind, even more when you get to talk to these people. So we have a Telegram group, or I used to answer Twitter and Instagram DMs religiously. Sometimes there's fan mail on, that comes into my email, and I love reading them. And, when you hear just stories of, to be honest with you, there was one story, a guy who said he really, really was thinking about committing suicide. And this is heavy and this is serious.
Right.
He, when I used to make Good Morning Nate everyday encouragements, like 1 to 2 minutes that I'd post them on at 6 a.m. every day. This guy was breaking down at like 3 a.m. and he was really thinking about how he would do it if he did it. And he couldn't sleep. But when he saw the video, when the sun started to rise, tas nag 6 a.m. na, he was encouraged to keep holding on daw and to keep going. And for me, I never want to take that for granted. That I never want that to become. I don't want to get numb
Right.
to that. I really want to feel it and have empathy for other real human beings with real stories just as valid as mine on the planet. There was
Yeah.
this trend on TikTok, parang be the main character of your life. That's cool. Romanticize your life in that way. Feel that your life is a movie and get motivated to do stuff again. But also, you're not the main character of life. You got to remember that. And you got to remember that there are other people who think they're the main character of their lives as well. And when you start to serve them, it will affect, again, like it's the goal that will affect the way that you do it. So if that's your goal, that's going to affect the way that you put out content and the way that you endorse brands and the way that you respect the time of others through the content you're putting out.
I have a question. So let's say that there's somebody listening to this right now, right? She or he is let's call it an influencer, like somebody making content for the sake of making content and for getting recognized, right? Let's say a person's listening to this, and thank you for not tuning out.
Thank you very much.
What would you tell them to do, or what would your advice be if you could tell them, for example, right? They reached that point of what I mentioned. All their posts are sponsored. A lot of them they don't really agree with. What would you say to them?
the secret to life is love, man. It's the secret to life is understanding people and loving stories and knowing what it is to be human, and um, understanding where creatorship or creativity or making content falls in that grand circle of life, in the grand ecosystem of humanity. If you're philosophical and deep, that's what I would tell you. And if you're not, and you just want to stay, garnering clout and stuff, just go on TikTok. Forget YouTube, forget Facebook, forget Instagram. TikTok is what will get you the most clout right now. And from there, you just, I know, branch out into, and then don't be afraid of clickbait. Don't be afraid of abusing the algorithm and making content that people are just gonna watch because they're so intrigued by the title, and then they'll click out afterwards. But remember this: if you do that and don't add real value to people's lives, your career will be over in a year.
Oof. You really think, why a year?
Or that's an arbitrary amount.
No, I mean, like, why in your head is it that a short amount of time?
I think people new influencers come out all the time. There are people who make content for clout all the time that come out, and there's always going to be someone who does it better than you. There's always going to be someone who can exploit the algorithm more efficiently than you, and who can make better, more appealing, more intriguing thumbnails than you. But if that person doesn't add any value, then all of that person's followers are just going to switch to the next influencer when that person comes out. If you don't establish your personal brand in business and marketing terms, but in Nate Punzalan terms, if you don't establish your value, if you don't make sure that your content adds real value to that person, what reason does that subscriber or person have to stick to your channel, stick to your content? And one day you'll find that if you've just been doing what everyone else has been doing in order to gain clout, you're gonna be Friday Rebecca Black,
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point. I sorry. I do agree with you in the sense that there have been so many different influencers in and out, they've had their shine, for a few months and they die out. I've actually wondered why that happens. I think that's a good explanation. Either, you know what I mean? Like, either it's because they weren't adding value, or maybe just inconsistency. It could be a combination of both.
Yeah, that too. Yep.
But in the sense that the reason why a lot of people, even, okay, to me, I'm very critical with influencers, but I admit I follow some. You know what I mean? I'm not. I'm not gonna be like, oh, this person has this many followers, I'm not gonna not gonna follow. No, I'm not like that. But I do realize that the ones that I stick to, or the ones that are the influencers that I want to hear more about. I want to hear what this person thinks, and I think that's what an influencer is in its best form. Is that how you would describe an influencer in the best form?
Exactly. I think in many ways, the influencers that don't die out, on the other hand, are the ones that form a real connection with their audience. Whether that's value-adding connection, whether that's comedic, they're or entertaining, or maybe it's an emotional connection. Yung parang, oh, this influencer, she was a child star, and then she got on Instagram, she's making funny content. It's sakto lang, but now she's a mom, and now
okay.
parang she's about to move into her house, and something interesting is happening in her life. Those are what get people, because it's interesting and it's an emotional bond. Compared to, for example, maybe if all you do is post movie summaries on Facebook. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Yung and then they just play like an EDM song on top of it so that it doesn't get copyrighted.
Yeah.
Those, you can watch that anywhere. You can watch travel videos anywhere if there's nothing special about you. But yeah, I mean, as to what you were saying, I do believe that's one way to describe an influencer in its best form.
How about to the content creator that doesn't have a lot of followers, but you know they're making great work? What would be a piece of advice or like a warning even for them?
No, I wouldn't give them a warning as much as just tell them you're doing a lot of good. Uh, you're doing a lot of good work. You're actually you don't get a lot of validation, and uh, I'm sorry, and I wish the world worked differently. I wish um, corporations and apps made their algorithm differently so that people who are passionate are the ones who get the limelight and get on the stage more. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry that it's not that way, and I feel you kasi nga I've been in that spot also before. That's one. So I would really encourage the guy, keep creating for the sake of creating, because that's what a lot of people are missing out on these days, and I think that's why the creator economy is also gonna make a big comeback. Parang people
Right.
are gonna realize that so much of the content that they see out there, even if it's by people instead of companies, it still gets really inauthentic. And they're gonna start looking for, like, I don't know, like the real stuff, the more authentic stuff. Um, whether that's deep talks like you and me or just something really funny, but it's authentic.
Yeah.
Either way. And then the other thing I would tell them is, if you want more online validation, it's not bad to go for that. It's the way the business works. It's the way YouTube works. You're not gonna get paid if you don't get views,
Yeah.
and that's fine. But so go learn that. Go learn how the algorithm works. Go learn what type of content to make. It's okay, I would say, every now and then. Na kunyari, you post content you're passionate about, passion, and then every now and then, I don't know, I would say maybe one in every 4 videos, something like that. It can be whatever you want. Make something that just appeals to more people, even
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
not 100% passionate about it.
Right.
But it's gonna get a bigger audience. That's okay. That's how the business works, and that's the world we live in now.
Yeah.
So, but never forget your roots. That's all I would say.
Yeah. I would compare it actually to like being an artist or a band, in a sense that some of these albums that are coming out, you have to have one or two singles that are easily consumable. You know what I mean?
Tama.
Like if you want to get there, if you want to be big, if you have 12 tracks, probably 4 of them have to be very easily consumable. And the rest, you can just do whatever you want, even like, and then even like later on, that's the thing. Later on, because of the ones that you're able to make that are easily consumable, now you have a following, and then once you have that, go on, like do whatever you
Right.
want.
Right.
So I think that's a good point, and I think the band thing is where I can relate it to the most, mainly because of course I've had to manage different kinds of music groups and careers, and I just found it interesting that you mentioned that, because I feel like sometimes we get too caught up in the passion. Sometimes we get a bit too caught up in, like, we get a bit stubborn in when we create. And I can be like this also. Like, don't get me wrong. I can also be like that in the sense that, do I really believe in this? Should I put it out? You know what I mean? Stuff like that. But when other people watched it or when they listened to it, they found it entertaining. They had a smile in their face. And I'm like, okay. And sometimes it's those kinds of conversations that draw people in, and now they can listen to your more value-adding content. So I don't think that's a bad thing, like what you mentioned.
Right. Have you heard of the 80-20 principle or the Pareto principle?
I mean, I've heard so many different variations of 80-20, 70-30. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
Can you explain which one you're talking about?
Well, it's called the Pareto principle, and it's a common sales, actually not sales, it's just business in general, kind of principle. Na 80% of sales are gonna come from 20% of your products.
Okay, yeah, all right, yeah, you're right.
And very
You're right.
similar, for a lot of different aspects. So, kunyari, 80% of the clean house comes from 20% of effort of me cleaning it lang. So I don't have to put in 100% of effort. I can get it 80% clean already, and then after that, diminishing returns na lang yung pag-vacuum ko ng mga in the corners talaga or behind the toilet. I'll do that like once a month, but not every day. Or for example, Four of Spades in their song Mundo, or Ben&Ben in their yung mga a ride home nila, a few years ago. Those are like the 20% of songs, or that's part of the 20% that they have to sing every single time they have a gig. They have to always perform it, and baka sawang-sawa na sila sa ganun. But it brings in 80% of the sales.
You're right.
So that's fine. Yeah, it's part of business.
Even like look at a grocery store. If you have 10,000 products, probably 2,000 are the ones making the money. Your rice, your oil, your meats. Like those are the things that earn more. And you're going to have like the niche stuff in the side that people will buy and people will like, but you're right, it's part of the 20%. Yeah. Anything you want to add to that? Or anything to the creator economy?
Do you have any more questions in your notes?
Oh, you mentioned to me that you feel like there will be a certain time where at least the trend is going to the point where people will start paying for individuals and their art or their content.
Yeah.
Can you explain that a bit?
I just saw this tweet kasi by he's one of the more popular opinion leaders na lang, I would say, on Twitter. Like, this is a person I would honestly say is an influencer. He has huge influence on the startup. So it's at Naval, Naval. I don't know if you've encountered him on Twitter.
Yeah.
Naval Ravikant. He's a Silicon Valley mastermind, I think, or something along those lines. Startups and all of that. But he said one day everyone will be in the creator economy. And I agree with him. I don't know exactly what he meant kasi then. And maybe I'm wrong, but I think that he was saying that one day in the near future, maybe in the next 10 years, maybe the next 20 years, but sooner rather than later, I would think, everyone will be spending a little money on something that an individual or independent creator has made. Or spending effort, at least at this point already, when we scroll through TikTok, those are all independent creators. And that's already part of it. But with the rise of like NFT hype and buying digital art on the internet, and even like stuff like Patreon, and to be honest with you, like OnlyFans, and yung mga buying stuff or subscribing to types of content online, the subscription model is back, baby. Like it all started with, I mean, you go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, you
finish
it. Yeah, it's more of like Spotify has subscription, Netflix has subscription, and now we're starting to, it for a while, subscribing to newspapers being delivered to your house, like physical newspapers back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Or magazines. For a while, those nawala yung business nila.
Right.
Because of the internet and everything. But now they're just bringing that business model to the internet. If you want music content, if you want video, film, and high production stuff like Suits kind of content, or later on, individual independent creator content, you're gonna have to pay money to subscribe.
That's an interesting take, because my question is does that change the barrier to entry for some of the artists that they don't have a huge following yet, but for example, they want to start having a subscription model, right? Let's say pay $1 to watch their videos every month. Are we reaching that point where YouTubers are going to start doing that? Or do you think that's not going to happen yet? Like, do you think that the model will stay the same in the sense that you'll start on YouTube, you'll build your audience, and then later on you can go to another website, or you can go to your own website?
I think it's going to start with a freemium model, FREE-mium. That's the way we see it done everywhere, whether that's Spotify, meron silang free plan, but then if you pay, you don't have to listen to ads. YouTube is like that, although people are just used to listening to or watching skippable ads, and that might be part of it. And if I include that in the category, then probably everyone is consuming, in the creator economy already at this point, because they're, to an extent, they're like those independent creators' content are subsidized to an extent by advertisements, right?
Yeah.
If you've seen the series Maniac on Netflix, it's not so popular, but part of it's got Emma Stone and Jonah Hill in it.
Okay.
So part of it is they've got what's called an ad buddy, and if you don't have money for any public service, whether that's, I think they used it for public transportation once. Na parang if you don't have money to take the subway.
Oh, I've seen the trailer for this. Yeah.
A person, like a real human being, is gonna come up beside you and read advertisements to you in person. In order for you to be able to, so it's subsidized by advertising. And I think, we're coming to that point where it's becoming more and more like a dystopian world when it comes to that point. I don't know where the creator economy is going to bring, what it's going to bring with it. It's going to bring some pros and cons with it. But the way that we've seen Fortnite, it's free to play, but you pay for your skin. Or if you play COD Mobile, it's crazy. Like, it started for me with Dota like years ago. I would play for free. I'd never spend money on skins. What the heck? Spend money on a digital good for a game that I'm not even gonna play forever? That's so useless. And then, right, you find yourself spending 500, 1,000, and they have these ways, right, to, it's by chance lang, it's a lucky draw. So if you don't get it, you have to pay more in order to get it. Yung mga ganon. So
it's wild.
That's gonna happen for the creator economy, but there's gonna be free content still for sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Last question. Just wrapping up this part of the show. So, is it time to retire the word influencer?
I don't have a stand on that. I just like talking about it. I just like discussing the implication of the word influencer. But I don't mind people calling me an influencer. I don't like it, but I'm not gonna come up to them and say, "Hey, I'm advocating that you stop using the word influencer." It's the word that people want to use, and they probably don't think about it much. It's not like derogatory. Nobody has any derogatory intentions for the word either, so I don't care.
For sure. Okay, that's fair. It's funny how we talked about this on your first.
I know. I was about to bring it up. Yeah.
With Bente, and here we are now. You have a certain love for it. I mean, not a love for it, but like you have a certain like, what's the right word for that? And you enjoy talking about this, do you? Like, why?
I love talking. Well, it's the industry that I'm in.
Okay.
But I like talking about stuff like that. I like talking about the way the world works and the way, I don't know, whatever. That's why I like doing podcasts. That's why thank you for having me on the White Stripe podcast.
Thanks, Nate. Follow everywhere. Are you gonna? Do you have new episodes out on Paper Cup?
The last one I did was about the COVID vaccine being derived from human fetuses.
Oh yeah.
Or feti.
The world's gonna end soon. Yeah.
The world is gonna end. Definitely. No, actually, I need to do a podcast episode soon. Maybe you can come on the show and we can talk about. Should we actually have an interesting question that we can answer on that show? Should we retire the word influencer?
That's a great question.
We should probably do a podcast on that one day.
We should. I'd love to talk about that word.
Sabaw.
All right, quickly before you leave, any last words on influencers influencing?
What I always say whenever I give talks, both for schools and for corporate, and it's about being an influencer, I always end with the point, not everyone is an influencer, but everyone is an influence. And I stand by that 100%. I was an outcast in high school, and this, I would eat lunch in the bathroom, kind of like Mean Girls, because I came from a homeschool background.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and no, I didn't know how to socialize then. It wasn't because everyone bullied me. It was more because I was a weirdo and a nerd. But this one guy saw me in second year and he had hope. I don't know. He believed in me, and he started talking to me, and he started really making conversations with me. And I wasn't confident to keep up the conversation, but he kept talking to me, and that guy ended up becoming a groomsman at my wedding. And we're close, and I'm so grateful he was in my life because he kind of renewed my confidence to talk to other people in high school. And he's not an influencer. He doesn't have a huge following or whatever, but he's made the biggest impact in my high school life.
Nice. All right, Nate. Catch you everywhere. Hope you come back. I mean, hit me up.
Literally anytime. Just hit me up
anytime, broski.
For sure.
Again, you were the first one to come on, and I'm really, really happy that you're here now. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for having me. It's always a genuine pleasure. So just really hit me up anytime, and we can talk about what it's like to be church kids.
That's, you know what? Like, we were talking about this like a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I love that topic. It'll be fun. Let's get one more person on.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. We're gonna do that. We're gonna plan that.
Subscribe to my channel. I need more clout. I'm almost at 100k subscribers, so please check my channel out. Please.
Thanks for listening. To check out more episodes, go check us out on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And for clips and full episodes, you can check out our videos on YouTube.